for this event. Buonasera, hello everybody, good evening. Welcome to our fifth number 5 installment of our series Libriamo from Italy with Books. I am Chiara Durazzini and I am the event coordinator at I Am Books, the Italian and Italian-American bookstore in Boston. Please come visit whenever you want. We are in the North End. Libriamo, this series, is organized in partnership with the Friends of Italian Cultural Center, Boston, and it is under the auspices of the Consulate General of Italy in Boston. Today is April 21st, 2022, and we are celebrating the birthday of Rome, il compleanno di Roma. Hard to believe, but Rome is turning 775 years, if I'm not mistaken. Please, my guests can correct me. Yes, because according to Titus Livius, a Roman writer, the city was founded in 753 BC. Buon compleanno Roma, happy birthday. So on this occasion, we decided to celebrate this fabulous birthday with this event, presenting to you a book that is called The Passenger, Rome. This is an interesting book. I read, the majority of the articles in there, because I would say it's a collection of articles by Italian writers. Today with me, we have Francesco Pacifico, one of the writers, and Leticia Muratori, another of the writers. And then we have Tomaso Bianciardi, who is the editor of the series The Passenger. I'm calling it a series. I'm not sure I'm correct. In Italian, we would say a collana, okay? So in last January, the volume about Rome came out. But I know that there are other cities featured in this collana. So let's start from Tommaso, just to take a look in general about The Passenger, and then we will start to go in depth and dive into this fabulous Roman birthday and talk more about the Eternal City, la città eterna. Quindi Tommaso, buonasera.
Buonasera.
Please tell us a little bit about this collana, about this series, The Passenger.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chiara, for this wonderful event. So, The Passenger is a series that we publish in Italy in Italian since 2018, and we have started publishing in English through a partnership with Europe Editions, which is an American and British publisher. To publish a selection of the issues we published in Italian, we publish a selection in English. The series, I mean, each issue of the series, I think series is a perfect name for it, is focuses on one country or a city and collects about a dozen articles, which can be literary essays or reportage or long-form journalism, about the city or the country, focusing in particular on its contemporary life. So what is happening right now in that city or in that country. The idea came to us as like let's say the editorial board of The Passenger is made of many travelers. And when before the pandemic, I would say, when we could all travel freely, we always we travel with this idea of going to discover a country or a place, and a bit more than the usual, obviously, tourist tourist routes around the city. What we noticed is that there was a gap in the publishing market, there was lacking something that would tell you what's happening in the place at the moment, because you can buy a travel guide which gives you a brief history and whatever. But I was always left with the feeling, okay, yes, but what's happening now? So who I don't know, who's in power? How's the economy going? What are the best cultural movements coming out of that place in this moment and age? And so the idea was to collect a variety of voices and of texts that tell you about the contemporary life of that place. And so what we're trying to do is like to compose a mosaic of voices of different authors, that they can be writers or journalists mainly, and they can be local from the place or international, who know the place well, who love the place. And we try to compose a mosaic with telling about the politics, the economics, the culture, if it's a city, we look at urbanism and architecture, or the difference between center and periphery. And so the idea is to try to give a picture of the place. So in it, we started 4 years ago, and in Italian we published about 20 issues. And in English we started in 2020, and so we published, I think, around 10, I'm not completely sure now. So we publish also on other cities, like on Paris, on Berlin, or countries like Greece, Brazil, Turkey. So this was, let's say that the original idea pre-pandemic was this, to offer a traveler something to give them information about the place. Then the pandemic came, and I think like the passenger came in onto its own during the pandemic, because what it does best, I think, is is armchair traveling. Basically, you can travel to a city without moving, without having to go on a plane full of unmasked people, basically. And so you can, and so like it is more rather, I mean, it's very little travel writing that you can find here. It's more reportage. It's more what you would find if the New Yorker published an article on Rome. That's what you could find in this book, basically.
Thank you. That was very exhaustive. It kind of clarifies that it's not a traveler guide, like, So I would suggest, if you go to the place, get a guide and then get the passenger, right? Or maybe even reading it before you are actually traveling to that place. In fact, I have to say that while I was reading it, I was really wanted to go to Rome. It was nice. So let's go into the version, particular volume about Rome. And here we have Letizia and Francesco. Let me introduce them to you, because they are very, very productive writers in Italy. I would say they also have some translations. Francesco has a book that just came out in English too. So let me read their bios so you can get to know them better, and then we can conversate about the city and what they wrote about it. Leticia Muratori is one of the most original writers on the Italian literary scene, who consistently seeks to communicate contemporaneity through disorienting narrative styles. Muratori's first novel was Tu non c'eri, 2005, and since then she has published several novels and short stories collections, including La Casa Madre, Il giorno dell'indipendenza, Sole senza nessuno, Animali domestici, Spifferi, and Carissimi. Over the years, her short stories have appeared in such newspapers as La Repubblica, L'Unità, and Il Manifesto. Francesco Pacifico is a Roman author whose first novel, Il caso Vittorio, came out in 2003, Since then, he has had a number of titles published in English, including The Story of My Purity, Class, and The Women I Love, which I just saw in the bookstore. So he founded the magazine Intascabile, writes for La Repubblica and for the US magazine N+1, and hosts a podcast, Archivio Pacifico, for which he interviews celebrities. He has also translated the work of numerous English language authors into Italian, including Scott Fitzgerald, Kurt Vonnegut, Henry Miller, Dave Eggers, Hanya Yanagihara, Henry Miller, Chris Ware, and Matt Groening. So, welcome. I just asked the audience in the chat if they want to share with us in the comments, or if they have questions, they can write in the Q&A. Audience, please feel free to let us know if you've been to Rome and what particularly struck you about the city. So, Letizia, tell us why you decided to write this article about a very, very, very peculiar topic, which is closing your eyes and going around Rome. I'm picturing you doing that. I imagine you doing that. Going about Rome and listening to the sounds, to the noises of the city. How did you come up with this idea?
Glad to be with you. Good evening. And okay, I remember I was writing this piece at the end of the first lockdown, when I realized that up to that moment, I'd been living immersed in silence. So what kind of silence? Certainly not the calm we associate with contemplation and peace. This silence, of course, the pandemic silence, was weird, unprecedented, unpredictable, and to make a long story short, was a total absence of noise. More precisely, man-made noise. Absence of what we call daily life from a human perspective, of course, but what could I do? I'm neither a seagull or a boar or a crow, a parakeet, because you have to know that they are the new bosses in town. So if we have time, I'll tell you some details about this dog-eat-dog world that is Rome today. It's sad to say, but it's a city partly abandoned by its local government. Anyway, I start to focus on this oral change, and change was the word. Right from the beginning, and in line with the magazine, with the passenger, I wanted to report on the transformation of the city of Rome. And speaking about Rome, it's not easy, it's not simple. When you think of Rome, what comes to mind immediately? Eternal beauty, ancient ruins, and so, of course, good food and blah, blah, blah. It's true, it's true. But I'm a native Roman. I was born and raised here. Therefore, I no longer see the eternal beauty. Such intimacy rendered me, blind. And the sense I could rely on was not sight. And this is very important for me. The sense of sight, imagery, are a little overrated. Think of Instagram, just a little overrated. So what did I discover by relying on the noises, on the cacophony of Rome? For example, remember the time before the pandemic and that incessant noise of a wheelie bags banging on the cobblestones, Roman cobblestones, called San Pietrini. I realized how much tourism had increased over the last 15 years. And I give you some numbers. In recent years, tourist arrivals in the city have increased by almost 70%. 70%. Wow. So that explains that noise. And let me imitate it. And help me, Chiara, because you are such a good actress, so you can help me. So it's the noise is like a and stop, and then
so the trolleys,
and
right?
remember, keep in your mind, incessant. And so the rhythm, because it's a rhythm, depends of the obstacles this suitcase encounter, of course. And but what was the reason and why had tourism become so massive and hit and run? And because of a low cost, this is my opinion, but it's not only mine, because of a low cost airline serving Rome. So go anywhere near the local city airport of Ciampino, where the locals fly in, and you know it, you hear it, and you feel the roar of that plane. And it has become a real nightmare for local residents, and with the level of noise pollution never before experienced. So in short, listening to and analyzing these new noises. And I discovered many things about the city that I didn't know or had not focused on. And just by listening, right, it's pretty different than hearing. And the audible commotion exists, whether you listen to it or not. So listening, hearing with intention, the different noises are an exhaustible and reliable source of information.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. All the noises, and I guess it also depends on the time of the day. You analyze fairly well here, pretty well here when the trolley of the tourists. Maybe they find a taxi cab, maybe they don't, and so the noise continue. Or maybe it's daytime, maybe it's night, but it's as you were saying, incessant, and again, such a raise, an increase in tourism. It can also be due to the Airbnb business. I mean, I know in Florence it's going crazy. Yeah, hi, Mary. Yes, an interesting perspective, absolutely. So the Airbnb, I think it's creating because I believe that not many families live in the city center much anymore. And so their places, they go to the periphery, they go to the outskirts of the city, and then they rent the apartments to tourists. So that's also, I think, one of the reasons of such an unbelievable amount of tourists, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the sound, the sounds are interesting, and then we'll talk more because it's not only the tourists. There are so many more sounds. But let me get to Francesco, because Francesco wrote another article. And parenthesis, I was looking at the beautiful, beautiful photographs that the book contains. So I'm sorry, my friends, my writer friends, it's not only you with really interesting articles, but I have to say that the images, the photos. Tomaso, who is the photographer?
The photographer for this issue is Andrea Boccalini, who's a Roman photographer, and each issue is illustrated by one photographer, and the idea is to give the photographer the voice to express his or her view of the city. And so like the photos go together with the articles because they are commissioned on purpose, but they give also another perspective, that of the photographer.
Yeah, no, I must say this, it's really, it's not only these articles, but very, very, very interesting photos, not the typical cartolina, not the typical postcard. And Maria writes, I lived and visited Rome many times. What struck me the most was the art and architecture. I worked for La Banca d'Italia, so that's nice. Yes, for sure. So, Francesco, you took a similar but different approach in your article because you're not talking much about the sounds, but you're talking about the music of Rome, a particular youngish, I would say, kind of music. But we people of my older age are enjoying, surprisingly. Can you tell us a little bit about the trap of Rome?
Hi, everybody. Nice being here. Let's start from the photographer. So I wrote this art. I wrote the essay. I wanted it to be about the lyrics. The theme in my mind is the depressive state of the middle class in Rome, as expressed by trap music, because trap music is a matter of fact is a middle class genre in Italy. It's not it's not from the projects. It's mostly middle class. It's my impression, especially the kind of trap I'm writing about in the piece. And the photographer started writing me, could you please put me in touch with the musicians? And I got super pissed because I thought, I'm writing stuff, I'm not writing like copy for the musicians. So we're not like making a cover of a magazine. It's different. So I'm friends with one of the managers of this trap artist, and he wrote me back. He read the story and said, I'm not forwarding the story to the musicians or they kick your ass, because it's very it was too real an essay about their supposedly real lyrics. And so my friend, the manager, said, I cannot have them read this or they'll be mad at you and want to beat you up. So I wrote the photographer, I'm an author, I don't do copy, so I'm not giving you the address. So I was a bitch. I was a pain in the ass for the photographer, and eventually he went and did it. And one of the artists, the junkie of the group, actually turned up in the pictures, and I think that was by chance, just because he was hanging out there. That's the guy, super crazy guy, Pretty Solero. He's named after an ice cream, Solero Algida. So I mean, so there was this triangulation between writing, music playing, and photography shooting. So very fraught experience. I'm still friends with the manager though.
But so let me ask you, did you like or did you know trap before you wrote the article, or and why did you write that particular article?
Okay, so I was introduced to trap music in the early days by another friend who's in this issue. Is actually the piece after mine. It's a piece about calciotto, eight-a-side football in Rome, a typical Roman way of playing football with friends, soccer. Daniele Manusia, who's also the director, the editor-in-chief of a fantastic website devoted to sports and especially football. That's Ultimo Uomo, Last Man, ultimouomo.com if you want to read about sports in Italian. Fantastic website. And Daniele is into all sorts of music, but especially rap, hip hop. And so like 10 to 15 years ago. I don't even remember. It's been a while. He introduced me to that kind of sounds. I'm not a fan, but I understand what, I mean, I'm interested in what's going on. I see why music is going that way, and I have nothing bad to say, but it certainly shows depression in a major way. And they seem to not always be aware about that. And middle class depression is one of my subject matters. I'm in love with the subject matter because middle class is about aspiration. You always want to feel that you're going upwards. And while these kids are always singing and rapping about success, you can feel that they don't believe it, that they know they're always about to go down, to crash down, you know? So all the TV shows about rise and fall of whatever entrepreneurial empires like We Crashed or Inventing Anna, those kinds of narratives in trap music, like they always want to trick themselves into believing they're making it, but then they're really dark, and they don't buy the dream themselves. And I've always really enjoyed this ambivalence and the harshness of the whole deal, and the way they portray right now. So that's why I wanted to write about that, because in Italy, hip hop and rap music conjures up images of the projects, poor people, but I think it really caught the attention of the middle class in Italy. I've always thought this.
Yeah, no, that's a good analysis. And also, you were pointing out in the article that it's not a periphery, kind of music, but it's right in the city center, particularly in Trastevere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's particularly interesting because so in American hip hop you have the narrative where like the first record is about, I don't know, pushing drugs or coming out of the projects, whatever, and then you have to write about your cars and your
The
like
money, the
Kanye West,
money,
like
the
Jay-Z, yeah, the
brands.
money, yeah, the vodka brand you bought, and that's one thing. But in Italy, like you have all these cool kids that grew up in the center of the city, just like drinking beer and taking drugs and just hanging out. And so they like their state of mind is not like they're not feel like they're the ruling class, but they're like the children of the ruling class. But they're completely like insane people. They lead unhealthy lives, and they're really self-destructive. So they're both inside the ruling class and self-destructive. And so even if they're like the sons of journalists or like psychoanalysts, they self-combust, get high AF, and risk dying. It's such it I don't know, it's such a compelling story to witness, because it's not the usual thing like they come from poverty. No, they don't. They went to the best schools and they self-destruct.
Yeah, they are the children of professors and lawyers, you were
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
right? But now I'm
yeah.
asking this also to Tommaso and Letizia. So now, does this attitude reflects the city? Because you guys in your articles and even the ones of other writers, there is this image of Rome as nihilistic. Okay, there's always the feeling of, okay, we are in trouble. We are always in trouble. There's always something bad. There's always some to complain. I don't know if I explain it well, but
You have
this kind of trap, it kind of reflects the whole image or feeling that the actual Romans probably have about their own city. Let's see what you guys think. Maybe I didn't read it well, but
Yes,
Tomaso,
are.
you're not. Tomaso can talk. Tomaso
No,
has no idea.
exactly. I was about to say I'm
It's
from
not
Milan,
common.
so I'm not the right person to
No.
say about this. But
I'm
I
going
wanted to point to point out one of the things that comes out of from Francesco's article, which is this concept of middle class in Rome, which doesn't really exist in the sense that Rome doesn't have an entrepreneurial class, a business class, because Rome is made of public administration and of the Vatican and of tourism. So it's missing what usually cities or centers of cities have, which is the middle class. And I think this comes out very well from Francesco's article, saying what it's like. He calls it and the ventre molle, so the soft belly of Rome and of Roman bourgeoisie, which then expresses itself in this very strange and, as you say, nihilistic trap music. Although it's a nihilism that plays a lot. I mean, they are aware of being nihilistic, if I'm not mistaken. Francesco, you can correct me. And this comes from a tradition in Roman music, but not only music, of making fun of everything, of taking everything lightly. So this, I think, balances the nihilism in the sense that if reading this, you come out with a fairly negative picture of Rome, but still a fun city because nobody takes himself seriously. Which
the lyrics are a lot of fun. The lyrics are
exactly they're
ingenious,
wonderful.
crazy, I mean, and very funny.
If you can translate them.
Yeah. No, the translation process was a blast.
Well, I listened to one of those, not the ones that you put in the playlist. I listened to them too, but one because I was interested in the collaborations of the trap artists with more mainstream and I would say popular Roman musicians like Max Gazzè. Max Gazzè came to Boston a few years ago and he had such a nice concert in a small place. So we were just a bunch of Italians, listening to him and he was so sweet and, it was amazing. But there is one song which is Posso by Carl Brave. I don't even know if it's pronounced Carl Brave or Carl Brave.
His name is Carlo Coraggio. So he's
of course Carl Brave.
A direct translation, yes.
Yeah, who with Max Gazzè in a very nice video and song says stringerti la mano e dirti cose che non posso che non posso dire in italiano ma in romano sì che posso. So it's like I cannot tell you things in Italian but I can tell you in Roman dialect or in Roman jargon. So let's talk a little bit also about the language in Rome and the language in this kind of interesting trap music, because I agree some of the language and the expressions are really funny. In spite of all the getting drunk, drug use, but some of the lyrics are interesting.
I think, Chiara, I think we should start from the title of the original essay in Italian, because we used the translator and I decided to go with ambitions as a Roman, quoting the late Tupac, ambitions as a rider. Ambitions as a Roman, Trap of Tarsevere, but the real title is the title of a song by one of the guys in the Love Gang, and that's Campari di Campari. So that's fantastic because you all know Campari, the mainstay of the Italian aperitivo, and Campare means living in the sense of scraping by, like managing. Barely managing.
Barely survive, huh?
So it means barely surviving on Campari. And Campari is this super bitter thing full of colorants, what's in full of artificial coloring, that a friend and I, we always say that when you go to a hospital in Rome, you have to both eat a pocket coffee, the coffee filled
Chocolate, yeah.
candy, and drink Campari, because it's these harsh flavors that are perfect for the kind of specific Roman depression. And so Campari di Campari is this song where I think it's the one that's dedicated to a homeless person that was a fixture in the Trastevere life, and the guy says, at my funeral, I want people to sing and be drunk or whatever. And so the title is Campari di Campari, and I think it really sets the tone for everything else.
Yeah, no, the wordplay, i giochi di parole, we have a lot, and really funny, really clever. Let me read you guys a couple of comments, and then I want to get back to Letizia. So Marie is writing, I visited Rome in 1975 with a friend and loved walking through the city to see the many sights. I must say that that's always fun, you know?
Yeah.
You know. Then in 2017, I visited again with my husband, and I could not believe how many people were in the streets. So many tourists flooding the streets and sights. What a change. Yeah, true. Francesco, c'era una sorta tutto quel che c'era, povera Roma, nostra forestiera. Francesco, what is it? Is it a quote?
Maybe it's
So,
c'era una volta con la V.
c'era una volta. Francesca, here you are. So, Francesca, you also write in your article a little part where you describe that you wanted to buy something in one of those stores in the Città del Vaticano. Okay, so you talk a little bit also about the Vatican City, which is always beautiful to visit. But you want to get something from one of those shops that sell all the clerical things.
Is that me? I wrote
It's
that?
me.
No,
No, that's
Me. I'm an
Letizia.
expert of the Vatican.
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay, sorry for
Vatican,
me.
Letizia writes
No,
about
it's
the
I'm a
Vatican. Now
super
you guys
expert
are
of the
giving me
Vatican.
doubts.
So everybody knows that the Vatican is in Rome, right? And it is a city within a city. And the clerical society is pretty different, but how different? And again, if we rely only on sight, it could be a little frustrating because the priests are a crazy cool people, really good looking guys. I'm positive they were selected, and they are male models, and the nuns on the other end are humble, shy, and so listening instead seeing, but could be worse. And they are totally indifferent to the problem of the city. And how do you know that? Because, for example, they don't yell at people for nothing. They whisper in a perpetual good mood, and we back to the Roman behavior. So, because the behavior of an average Roman is the opposite, trust me. And we are everything but a good mood. And what about Boston? I don't know. I imagine in Boston Catholic history, priests and nuns are not foreign entity to you, are not a foreign entity to you, but in Rome, they are heavenly, as they live in a paradise, shielded from urban strife. And now when I'm stuck in traffic, when I try to throw garbage in the street corner dumpster, bullied by a seagull overseer, I repeat to myself, pretend to be a priest, pretend to be a nun, pretend to be in heaven on earth. I'm kidding, of course, I'm kidding, but up to a point. No, what I mean is that there are many cities within the one, and Rome cannot be considered a single block. And there are, I don't know how many districts, but the centralized government had not managed to address the needs of the citizen on a local level. And the problem is the centralization of the power in one way. And I wrote about Rome, but I would like to invite everyone to explore your own city, the world you live in, with ears, not just with eyes, because we have an infinite reserve of sounds and the clamor in our memory just waiting to be read and investigated. This is very important.
Yeah,
so
for
you want to
sure.
know something about the store?
Yeah,
the
no, I was,
yes.
I liked it.
Yes,
I like that you had
the store.
muster on your courage to get into one of those stores, because every time
Yes,
I've been there,
I
I would have never set a foot in one of those stores.
Yes, because they are the owners of that store are unbelievable hoity-toity person. Now they are super pretentious and snob, and they look at you like what's wrong with you, and so it's very difficult to get into. But it's interesting. It's full of this. I don't know what is in English. Tonache and
Yeah, tunic or
this clerical staff, and they are always empty, nobody there. I don't know why. And so if you get into, you are, it's like, no, there is this people there, and it's, yes. And they are interesting. And I suggest the tourists to go there, because just to take a look, and because it's interesting, it's a typical, you know, it's not common. So
yeah, no, excellent. I like that. I like that part a lot, because again, I don't think I would ever try to go in there. It makes me nervous.
and
You know?
the different, you know, the clothes for men and women, of course, are different. Priests and nuns, and always nuns supposed to be, you know, humble and very shy. So they have this sweater and this very humble clothes, but the priest with the gold tunic, and yes, there is such a sort of a sexism in this. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have here in Boston. I don't know if some of the audience member can say something about the
Yes, I'm
clerical.
curious to know.
Well, we do have a big tradition of Irish, so Catholics are mostly from Irish immigrants, and then of course Italians too. But to be honest, I never seen them around. I don't know where these priests and nuns are here in Boston. Of course, if you go to church, you see the priest, but I don't think I've ever seen a nun. So I don't know if any of you in the audience have ever seen a nun in Boston. Well, thank you, Francesco, for clarifying the trap music for Amy. It's a very particular kind of music, kind of resembling rap a little bit, but not as, maybe I would say more commercial, but you know, I'm not a music expert, so I don't know. Now, Letizia, again, tell us a little bit more about the noises, because I think that's not only the tourists, but a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Before I was talking about the, you know, the seagull and the boar, and this is related to the infamous waste problem. No, the main reason it has become such an issue in Rome is because the government closed at some point the city dump, Malagrotta, and has never opened another one in its place. And this explained the seagulls burning down the dumpsters and on the dumpsters, and in some cases even the wild boar. The first time I heard about a boar in town, I couldn't believe it. I said to myself, I'm not gullible, it's not true. But it was, and it is true now. I would like to be clear. I've nothing against them. These new Swedish neighbors, these new Swedish neighbors are a little bit threatening and a little bit, bullying, but I can understand their reasons. The ones I can't tolerate are parakeets. And there are thousands of them, and they make a terrible racket. And seems to be in Iguazu, Brazil, no, but without waterfall and views. And why has there been this invasion? No, simply because they live and they reproduce like crazy, and they are pests. I'm sorry, but I'm just a little bit pissed off, not with parakeets, but with those owners once tired of their impulse pet purchase and freed them from their cages. This is the problem, no? So sometimes I ask to myself, where are the lovely old swallows and the puffy sparrows? And they hide out in the increasingly narrow corners of the sky where those acid green monster let them live. So bird watching in Rome, I suggest a bird watching in Rome, good luck. Maybe you will meet a vulture next time. And actually this wildlife is a bit like the mirror of the city that is going through a bit of a rough patch these days. I don't want to be, a depressed Roman, but I'm everything but a bad mood.
Well, I have to say that I have a Florentine good friend who lives in Rome. He's been living in Rome for years, and every time he sends me some photos every now and then. The other day it was wild boars babies. I don't know how to call them, but so he said, I went for a walk and this is what I saw I think maybe late at night, I don't know, but really wild boars right in the city. However, he specifies that in spite of these little Roman problems, the city is so beautiful that it's really worth to live in. Again, he moved there. So Mary, yeah, she says many of the nuns in Boston dress in civilian clothes, so it's difficult to know that they are nuns. You see? Thank you, Mary. I didn't know. That's why we don't see them around. Yeah. So, Tomaso, Francesco, Letizia, let me ask you the last thing. Which is your next project? Or, no, wait, I'm sorry. For Letizia, we have a question that is, Letizia, what are your favorite sounds and scents? E profumi, odori. Favorites, not the bad ones, the good ones.
Yes. I have to think about. And maybe the pizza. That we have a peculiar kind of pizza. It's not the pizza that you imagine, the margherita. The name is pizza bianca or focaccia in Milan. They are pretty different, and the smell of this is, yes, it's very good. For me, it's the best. I don't know if Francesco, yes, it's very good. And yes, this is my favorite.
Nice. And how about sounds? Do you guys, you, Francesco, Letizia, have, I don't know, a favorite sound or a favorite, I don't know, something about the city that would put us in a better mood about Rome?
I think there's this sort of, how can I say? It's the sudden absence of sound when, for example, when I enter my neighborhood. That's a very quiet neighborhood. So I get off the Via Consolare, the Via Casilina. There's a wood, how do you call it? A place where they cut wood and sell you wood. So after that, you smell the wood, the cut wood, and then you enter this area and it's suddenly quiet, and that's the best sound ever when the noise finishes. Then the noise is done and you're in the neighborhood. That's fantastic. That's only interrupted by trains because that's the train tracks, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, because the traffic is kind of bad, right?
I'm sorry.
The traffic is quite bad. Traffic
that's
in
like
general.
that's like an elevator conversation. That's
right. That's right.
Like the first conversation. It's traffic is like the weather.
Yes.
Right. Letizia, what were you saying?
About the sound. But no, I'm banal maybe, but I like the bells. No, striking.
That's right.
The hour. Sometimes you can hear the bell, and that's beautiful. No.
Well, not if you live like in front of the church, though. Otherwise, it's like every hour.
Right, like maybe next to the trail.
This is, yes, no, if you live in front of the church, it's not,
Anyhow, I was also noticing, which is kind of nice, that, in the book there are not only articles, but also suggestions for songs about Rome and, other little inserts with maps and, very, very thorough, very complete.
I must say, sorry, Chiara, I must say something about guides. I went to Palermo for 4 days for Easter weekend, and like there's more stuff on Wikipedia than on guides like the Lonely Planet guides, the rough guide. So I mean, you have in this age, internet provides the basic information, so the rest must be curated. So I don't believe in that kind of guide anymore. So I think you're better off having a connection, to the internet and like going inside churches and looking them up online, and then using these for actually curated experience of learning the bad things about the place you're visiting.
It's not only bad. It's
not only bad.
Kind
but
of
what I'm saying is the funk is there, and the information is online. I don't believe in the general kind of guide that we still keep buying.
Sono un po' passate di moda, right? They're a little outdated, even if they are current, but even because, believe me, when I've been traveling in the last few years, it's a pain to bring such a heavy, book around with you. And you're right, now there's the internet. You can check, you can look at a map, they're kind of lost. That's too bad. Il profumo di caffè, Victoria says. The good, and suono delle campane. Yeah, but il profumo di caffè, that's always nice. Yes.
But that cannot be generalized because it depends on the city. I don't think the smell of coffee in Rome is premium stuff. I don't think.
Interesting, huh?
I think that really varies. Like in Turin, in Naples, maybe. No, not maybe, surely, but not in Rome. Not always. Maybe some bar near the government.
But what's wrong with you? It's super good, the coffee
No, I
in
don't
Rome.
think
We
so.
have to be,
Just because your
He's
heart is
Roman.
in
He has to
Milan.
complain.
yeah,
Exactly. But
why?
like very lightly. Like
Mhm.
Okay,
like
the
there's
bell,
there's
no,
one big
and in
show.
front of the church, and the coffee, no. No, it's,
Now look, Letizia, you know well what I'm about to say. I always make the joke when I talk to Americans, and they're sometimes put off by it. But for us, it really sounds natural and fun. And the joke
Okay.
is when you people from north of Europe were barbarians, we were already gay.
Yeah, we need to say it in Italian, even though it's a bad
Quando
I
voi,
word.
believe that you said
esatto.
that.
Quando voi eravate barbari, noi
No,
eravamo già
don't say.
froci. Noi eravamo già froci.
I have to say, Francesco, I love the idiom, quell'idioma.
Yes.
Beh, il really, really summarize the Roman wittiness, no? Quando uno è witty.
Witty jadedness,
Well, right, witty and jadedness.
right?
But believe me, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yes, yes, Cara is saying that this collection was powerful and reconnected me to a place that I'm passionate about. True,
Yeah.
true. All
Thank you,
right, my
Chiara.
friends, I think we are at the end of our conversation. So, audience, please, if you want to write the last things, do it now. Fatelo ora, do it now. Or never again. About Rome, of course. I don't know. We have to. I think it is available on ebooks.
Yes, it is. It is available. I would just say that ebook don't give it justice, because there's lots of color photos, and graphics, infographics, and things
Great
like that.
paper.
So
Great
it is
paper.
available on ebook, but it's not. Paper
Yeah,
is
no,
amazing.
Great texture. Great
and
texture.
yeah, the
Look at that.
texture, right? The kind of a
Fancy
rough,
stuff.
pleasant
Fancy.
texture. And again, it's true. There are many beautiful photos.
But maybe on the new tablets. I mean, the new iPads are quite good. I think
They can imitate the
they
texture.
can fake the texture.
Well, thank you, Mary, for coming. Thank you all for coming. Please let me tell you that we are having so many events coming up. Please attend. We are having on Monday Donatella Di Pietrantonio. She's a very famous and talented author. Nicola Oricuia will moderate, will interview her. Also, we will have Beppe Severnini on May 3rd, and I will be with him and with the translator Anthony Sugar, so don't miss May 3rd. Last but not least, we are going to have a couple of in-person events. I'm directing a staged reading in the evening of May the 5th at the bookstore at IM Books in the North End. And then the day after, there is an Italian-American author, Jennifer Anton, who will present her book. So please attend. It was wonderful to see you. It was wonderful to celebrate Rome's birthday with such fabulous guests. Grazie Tomaso, grazie Francesco e grazie
Thank you.
Letizia.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you.
Grazie a te.
Keep in touch, ci risentiamo presto, alla prossima. And keep up the good work. Buon
Absolutely.
lavoro per i vostri prossimi progetti.
Grazie. Ciao Chiara. Ciao a
Grazie.
tutti.
Ciao.
Buona
Ciao.
serata.
Ciao.